So last week, after 2 weeks gap, we were discussing from fifth chapter, in which in the first few verses, uh, Vidura begins to inquire from Maitreya Rishi, having approached him on the bank of Ganga in Haridwar. He requests Maitreya Rishi to speak about why this universe has been created with happiness mixed with misery, why people are endeavoring for happiness but only getting misery. Please tell me the process of creation by Lord Vishnu, the first Purusha, and also describe the pastimes of Lord Krishna, who is the master of three Purusha avatars. And then please tell me how Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters the universe and creates universal form, and Shivdakshaya Vishnu enters into each and every person as Paramatma and maintains the universe, and how Brahma, empowered by Lord Vishnu, creates bodies for various living entities who have various activities to perform, various identities to live with. And then please tell me the pastimes of Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna and all other incarnations that appear for the purpose of correcting whenever the situation goes out of order, etc., etc. So, because Lord always appears for the benefit of Dvijago Suranam, for the twice born cows and the devatas, Kshemaya Karmani Avatar Bedai. So, please tell me about the pastimes of all unlimited avatars. So, and also tell me about how these 24 material elements are used by Lord Brahma in order to create various types of bodies, and etc., etc. Because there is no one can become satiated by hearing Krishna Katha. I have heard many subject matters about devatas and other living entities in this world from my father Vyasdev. I am done with all those subject matters. I want to hear now pure Krishna Katha. Please speak about everything, whichever is in relation to the Supreme Lord. So, so in order to start the discussion, you can start with the subject matter of the creation. So, Savishwa Janma Titi Samya Marte Kritavatara Pragrihita Shakti Chakara Karmani Atipurushani Yanishwara Kirtaya Tani Mayam. So, please tell me how the Supreme Lord engaging Mahamaya starts the creation of material worlds, etc., etc., and maintains them and also annihilates them. So, these pastimes, please speak. So, with that hint, Vidura requested Maitreya to start the subject matter of Lord Krishna, starting with the creation. So then Sukadeva Goswami takes in, and he tells what is happening, transpiring between Maitreya and Vidura. Sayevam Bhagavan Prishta Kshatta Kausharava Muni Pumsham Nishreyasarthena Tamaha Bahumanayan. Giving highest regard to Vidura because he asked wonderful question, which whose answer will be Pumsham Nishreyasarthena, which is meant for giving ultimate benefit to all the living entities. The answer to the inquiries made by Vidura will give liberation to all the living entities of this world. Thus, it is meant for the ultimate benefit of all the living entities of this world. So, glorifying thus, giving high regard to Vidura, Maitreya first glorifies Vidura from verse number 18 to 22. Then 23 onwards, the subject matter will be discussed. So now let us see how Maitreya is glorifying Vidura. Maitreya uvacha sadaprushtam tvaya sadho lokan sadvanugrahata kirtim vitanvata loke atmano dokshajatmana.
Shri Maitreya said, O Vidura, all glories unto you. You have inquired from me of the greatest of all goodness, and thus you have shown your mercy both to the world and to me, because your mind is always absorbed in thoughts of the transcendence.
So here Maitreya is actually glorifying Vidura for his inquiry. Sadhu Prushtam Tvaya Sadhu. Oh great devotee, oh Sadhu. Sadhu Prushtam, you actually asked a wonderful question, a best question, because Lokan Sadhu Anugrahata. The answer to your question will bestow auspicience to the people of this world. Kirtim vitanvata loke. By asking such questions, by allowing auspicience to people of this world, you are actually spreading your glory all over the world. You could do this because Atmano Dokshaja Atmana. Your life and soul is Adokshaja, the supreme personality of Godhead who is beyond the perception of the senses. So this Sadhuprushtam is a word which actually comes from the beginning of Bhagavatam. Whenever the hearer asks any query, the first thing the speaker says that your questions are very laudable, very wonderful. So that is mentioned in the first canto, second chapter, at the beginning. Munaya Sadhuprushtoham Bhavadbir Loka Mangalam Yatkrita Krishna Samprashno Yenatma Suprasidati. Munayo Sadhuprushtoham Bhavadbir Loka Mangalam. So Suta Goswami is glorifying the sages of Naimisharanya. Oh great sages, whatever questions you have asked, they are actually Sadhu Prushtoham. They are the best of the question. They are the wonderful questions. Being because Bhavadbir Loka Mangalam. The answer to these questions actually give Loka Mangalam, auspiciousness to the entire universe. Yatkrita Krishna Samprashna, because all your questions are in relation to Lord Krishna. Enatma Suprasiddhi, which actually, whose answers will actually give true satisfaction to the heart. So only such kind of questions will give real satisfaction to the heart. So this is how Suta Goswami glorifies the sages of Naimisharanya for the questions asked by the Shaunaka Rishi, who is their leader. And then if you see second canto, first chapter, first verse, there Sukadeva Goswami also glorified the questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj, wherein he says that Varyan yeshate prashna kruto loko hitam rupa Atmavis sammatam pumsha shroto vyadishu yappara. Varyan yeshate prashna. Varyan means highly laudable, high, wonderful, great question. The question which you have asked is actually Varyan yeshate prashna. Among all the variety of questions, this is the best question because kruto loko hitam rupa. Answer to your question will actually give actual benefit to the entire world. Atmavit sammatam pumsha shrota vaishu yappara. Atmavit sammatam pumsha. The great souls who are actually endeavoring to go back to Godhead. All of those people actually worship the queries, worship the question asked by you. Because Shrotavyadishu Yappara. The answer to your questions is the best thing that should be heard. Among all the variety of subject matters to be heard, this is the best thing. The answer to your queries is the best thing that should be heard. Shrotavyadishu, yes, Yappara. So that's how Sukadeva Goswami glorifies the queries made by Parikshit Maharaj. Similarly, even at the beginning of this third canto, Parikshit Maharaj, while inquiring about the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, he glorified the questions asked by Vidura. This is the 313, 314. Nahi alpartodayastasya vidurasyaamalatmana tasmin variyasi prashna sadhu vadopa brahmita. Sadhu vada upabrahmita. The great devotees, the great souls, the great learned speakers, they always glorify the questions asked by Vidura. Because these questions are not of inferior meaning. The answer to these questions are actually Tasmin Variyasi Prashna. It's the best of questions, and answer to this question, the best possible path for one to go back to Godhead. So this is the common feature which can be seen all over Srimad Bhagavatam. Whenever a great question is asked by a great personality, the speaker first glorifies the query and the hearer, the questioner, and then begins to answer. So here he says that Atmano Adokshaja Atmana, because your heart is filled with Adokshaja, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, your questions will always be glorious. And you are a wonderful devotee. Being a wonderful devotee, you are always looking for the welfare of all the living entities. By thus, you are actually spreading your glories all over the world. So Prabhupada writes here, Maitreya could understand Vidura's mind that he was fully absorbed in transcendence. The Lord is transcendental to our sense experience. He is the Prabhupada writing the meaning of Adokshaja. But he reveals himself to the sincere devotee. Because Vidura was always absorbed in thought of the Lord, Maitreya could estimate Vidura's transcendental value. He appreciated the valuable inquiries of Vidura and thus thanked him with great honor. So Bahumanayan, giving great regard, great respect to Vidura and his questions, now Maitreya begins to answer. Now in couple of verses, Maitreya actually glorifies Vidura's position, his wonderful lineage and his himself, glorifies himself. Naitat chitram tvayikshtar Badarayana Viryaje Gruhito Ananya Bhavena Yatvaya Haririshvara.
O Vidura, it is not at all wonderful that you have so accepted the Lord without deviation of thought, for you were born from the semen of Vyasadeva.
So in this verse, two things are glorified. Naita Chitram Tvaikshatar. My dear Vidura, it is not at all astonishing to expect such kind of inquiries from you, because Badarayana Viraje, you have been born from Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, Badarayana. Badarayana refers to here Vyasadeva, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa. You are directly born from Srila Vyasadeva. That is one of your glorious position. You are directly manifested through Vyasadeva. Gruhito Ananya Bhavena. And you have accepted a pure devotional service within your heart. Ananya Bhavena. Without any second thought for anything else in this world. Your heart is filled with pure devotional service. Yatvaya Haririshvara. And in your lifetime, you are constantly associated with Supreme Personality of God. May not be continuously, but every now and then, you had the good fortune of associating with Lord Sri Krishna. Whether Maitreya had that good fortune or not, we don't know, but Vidura had always. Because every good occasion, whenever Lord Krishna visited Pandavas, Vidura was there. Many of the occasions, as and when Lord Krishna visited Hastinapur or Indraprastha, Vidura was always there. So in that way, he had the good fortune of associating with Lord Krishna. Even Lord Krishna visited the house of Vidura and stayed in their house for one night when he visited Hastinapur for peace messenger. So, so these are the three qualities mentioned here. One is he is the direct son of Vyasadeva, and his heart is filled with pure devotional service, and he constantly associated with Lord Krishna whenever opportunity was there, whenever Lord Krishna visited Hastinapur or Indraprastha. So these are the three qualities of Vidura. So he is expected to ask such kind of wonderful questions which are meant for the well-being of people of this world. So in that way. So Prabhupada talks about the importance of birth. So some details about birth Prabhupada mentioned in this. The birth of a human being is a great science, and therefore reformation of the act of impregnation according to the Vedic rituals called Garbhadana Samskara is very important for generating good population. The problem is not to check the growth of the population, but to generate good population on the level of Vidura, Vyasa and Maitreya. There is no need to check the growth of population if the children are born as human beings with all precautions regarding their birth. So-called birth control is not only vicious but also useless. So actually many decades back when I was small child, there was a lot of propaganda that India population is increasing and they should not beget more children, one child or two children, not more than that, like that. So because of that propaganda and many other things, because of the corporate education policies, all these things, so many things, now most of the Indians do not beget more children more than one or two. So Prabhupada said that in this purport, actually Prabhupada said that even at later part in one of the purports, maybe earlier, the Supreme Lord, who is the creator of the entire universe, he provides everything necessary for every living entity. There is no problem of food in any other species, any other living entity. They have no problem of food, but only in human species there is a problem of food because of some greedy people who hold all the money and all the grains within themselves, within their custody, the others are put into hunger and many other troubles. So because nowadays everything has become costly affair, the education, health, living cost, everything becomes so huge. So both wife and husband has to go to work, and taking care of children would be very difficult. This could be one of the reason that they don't want to have more children. So some things like that. So, but Prabhupada says that so we get good population. So here the birth of Vidura is being mentioned. If from Mahabharata, both Ambika and Ambalika did not receive Vyasdeva properly, so their sons were with some faults. But the maid servant of Ambika, she received Vyasdeva very nicely. So she gave birth to Vidura without any faults. So Vidura is a great devotee from that point. So then some more details about Vidura are mentioned in the next two verses. Mandavya Shapad Bhagavan Praja Samyamano Yama Bhratu Kshetre Bhujishayam Jata Satyavati Sutat.
I know that you are now Vidura due to cursing of Mandavya Muni, and that formerly you were King Yamaraj, the great controller of living entities after their death. You were begotten by the son of Satyavati, Vyasdev, in the kept wife of his brother.
Yeah. Son of Satyavati was Vyasdev, and he begot Vidura through the maid servant of Ambika, the wife of Vichitravirya. So that Vichitravirya is the brother of Vyasdev, in that sense it is mentioned. So, but anyway, this Mandave Shapad Praja Samyamano Yamana, this story was mentioned in the first canto, 13th chapter, where Vidura, Dhritarashtra quits home in that chapter. When Vidura comes back, in that section, this is being narrated. Even in the first chapter of this third canto, also kind of hint is given about it. So, because Mandave Rishi cursed Vidura to Yamaraj to become Shudra, take birth in the family through the womb of a Shudrani woman, and go through the situation for 100 years. So that is all mentioned. In spite of Vidura's birth from the womb of a kept wife, because he had otherwise high parentage and great connection, he inherited the highest talent of becoming a great devotee of the Lord. To take birth in such a great family is understood to be an advantage for attaining devotional life. Vidura was given this chance due to his previous greatness. So in this life, Vidura is son of Vyasdev, but in the previous life, Vidura himself is Yamaraj, a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is a greatly responsible person who is rendering one of the important services on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is Vidura's greatness. So he is one of the 12 Mahajans. So the queries are expected of such a high order also. So then in the last, this is the last verse of glorification of Vidura, wherein he says that Bhavan Bhagavato Nityam Sammata Sanugasyaha Yasya Jnanopadeshaya Madishad Bhagavan Vrajam.
Your good self is one of the eternal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for whose sake the Lord, while going back to his abode, left instructions with me.
So, this is one of the key verses. Bhagavan Bhagavato Nityam Sammata Sanugasya. Sa Sanugasya means Sa Anugasya. So Maitreya is telling that the Supreme Lord always considered you as one of his eternal associate. Bhagavan Bhagavato Nityam. Bhagavata means devotees of the Supreme Lord, those who belongs to Supreme Lord. Nityam means eternal. The Supreme Lord always considered you to be one of his eternal associate. Yasya Jnanopadeshaya Madishat Bhagavan Vrajan. So before departing from this world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna had given me some messages which are supposed to be passed on to you. Yasya Jnana Upadeshaya. In order to deliver the information to you, मा आदिशद, मा आदिशद, भगवान आदेश किया मुझे. So before departing from this world, so the Lord has given me some messages to be passed on to you. So now I want to deliver you all those messages. So this was in relation to the second verse of this chapter, wherein Vidura thought that let me, instead of asking directly what Lord Krishna spoke to them underneath the people tree, let me ask them some general questions. If Maitreya heard it sufficiently, he will tell that Lord has spoken to me these things. I will speak to you like that. So in this verse, Maitreya actually revealed that the Supreme Lord ordered me to deliver this message to you. So please listen to it. So like that, he is actually indicating. So in these set of verses, Maitreya actually glorified Vidura's greatness, about his birth, about his previous life, about his current consciousness, and then his compassion on the people of this world, and then he is being an eternal sort of supreme personality of Godhead, and Lord recognized him and gave some messages to be passed on to him even when he was about to depart from this world. All these things actually indicate the greatness of Vidura. And last week we discussed that because of all these things, Vidura, though he is Mahajan, instead of speaking himself, he asked relevant questions so that he can extract the essential knowledge from the mouth of Maitreya, which will benefit the people of this world. Thus, it makes Vidura a Mahajan, one of the 12 Mahajans in his transcendental position as Yamaraj. So now, Maitreya is kind of trying to shift the subject matter in order to answer the queries. Atate Bhagavallila Yoga Mayoru Brahmita Vishwasthiti Uddhavantarha Varnayami Anupurvasha.
I shall therefore describe to you the pastimes by which the personality of Godhead extends its transcendental potency for the creation, maintenance, and dissolutions of the cosmic world as they occur one after another.
So basically, he's telling that. Now I will speak to you about the process of creation. Atate Bhagavat Leela, which is one of the wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yoga Mayoru Brahmita Vishwasthiti Uddhavantartha. So basically, how the creation, maintenance, and annihilation happens one after the other. Varnayami Anupurvasha. I will describe as I have heard from my authorities in sequence. So Yoga Mayoru Brahmita. Mahamaya is considered to be one of the expansion of Yoga Maya. That Mahamaya will assist the Supreme Lord in the subject matter of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. How the Supreme Lord employs Mahamaya in the matter of creation, maintenance, and annihilation is being described in this chapter. So from verse number 23 all the way up to verse number 37, the process of creation is being described very nicely. So any queries till now? Because now verse number 23 and new subject will start.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, query should be from the whatever we read today or last class also we.
It is better if you ask whatever we discussed now. Other queries you can ask at the end, like as you mentioned previously. We'll discuss.
Okay, then I'll ask later.
Okay. Anyone else? Any queries from the discussion now? Of course, there is not much. Just the glories of Vidura. Okay, no problem. So here, verse number 23, 24, and 25. These three verses are almost similar to the verses that were spoken in the second canto 9th chapter, the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. So these three verses are also somehow they are called as three Shloki Bhagavatam. So they may not be exactly as they are in the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, but the meaning is almost similar. Similar meaning is carried out in these 3 verses. And in this chapter, these 3 shlokas and also some 3-4 shlokas in the 8th chapter, they are also again similar to the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. So the verses with a similar meaning keeps repeating in the Bhagavatam again and again. So because all these verses are connected to the creation, maintenance and annihilation of the entire universe, the subject matter Sambandha Adhyaya Prayojana, so they can be seen in that light. So here, verse number 23. Bhagavaneka asedam agra atmanam vibhu atmechannugatav atma nana mati upalakshana.
The personality of Godhead, the master of all living entities, existed prior to the creation as one without a second. It is by his will only that creation is made possible, and again everything merges in him. This supreme self is symptomized by different names.
Yeah. So here it says that Bhagavan eka asedam agra atmatmanam vibhu atmechannugatav atma nanamatu lakshana. Prabhupada mentioned that the great sage here begins to explain the purpose of the 4 virginal verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where in the original Chatushloki Bhagavatam it is mentioned that aham evasam evagre. So this was the verse, the first line of the first verse mentioned in the second canto 9th chapter. And also if you see Bhagavad Gita, the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, aham sarvasya prabhavo mattam sarvam pravartate. So the same thing, wherever the Chatushloki or Trishloki are there, it always talks about how the creation started with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but not from anybody else. So here it says that Bhagavan eka ase idam agra atmatmanam vibhu. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, agra, at the very beginning of this material creation, eka asa, he alone existed. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, alone existed before the creation or at the beginning of the creation. Atman Atmanam, who is also considered to be the Paramatma of every living entity of the every universe and Prakriti itself. Atman Atmanam refers to the same Bhagavan who is called as Paramatma for a Prakriti, universe and each and every living entity. And Vibhu is also considered to be called to be as the all-pervading Supreme Brahman. So some people consider that Bhagavan alone existed before the creation. Some people say that no, it is Paramatma alone existed in the beginning. Some people say that it is Brahman who existed in the beginning. But in one sense, there is no difference between these 3. All the 3 are same only. The devotees call him as Bhagavan, the yogis call him as Paramatma, the jnanis call him as Vibhu or Brahman. They are same only, but in any case, he alone existed before the creation of this material universe. Atma Icha Anugatav Atma. Atma Icha Anugatav Atma. It says that before, when there was no desire to manifest all the variety of universes and all the variety of living entities, that time he alone existed. From when he alone existed? From the time of previous annihilation, when previously all the universes were existing. At the time of Pralaya, all the universes have been destroyed, and Jivas, all the living entities and all the material nature entered into the Karnadaksha Vishnu. Since then, till the desire again manifested in his heart that again let me create, till then he alone existed. There was no one to give company to him. From the point of view of the material world, there was no Brahma to give company to him. There was no Shiva, there was no Mahamaya, there was no living entities, no Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu. None of them are there to give company to Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu. He alone was sleeping in Yoga Nidra in Karana ocean, in the causal ocean. He alone was existing at that time. So this is similar to the first verse, Aham eva sameva gre nanyad yatsat asat param pachadaham edetacha yovashishyata soasmiham. In that verse actually talks about the 3 phases of existence: before the creation, after the annihilation. But here this verse basically talks about before the creation, because now the subject matter is about the creation. So it is talking about what was the state prior to the beginning of creation. There was only one Mahavishnu sleeping on Viraja river or Kazal ocean. There was no one to associate with him from the material world point of view. All those people who are going to stay in the material world, none of them are there along with the with this Mahavishnu. So that is what is indicated. Of course, there are many verses in the Shrutis to confirm this. Just like Srila Prabhupada quotes many verses in that verse, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. He quotes from many Vedas, many Upanishads, saying, indicating to indicate that only Lord Vishnu was existing before the beginning of creation. Neither Brahma, nor Shiva, nor Indra, nor Chandra, nor Varuna, Vayu, none of them are existing. Vasudevo va idam agra, Vasudevo va vidam agra, Asit na Brahma, na Shankara, Eko vai Narayana Asin, na Brahma Neshan. Of course, there are two verses here. Vasudevo va idam agra Asit, na Brahma, na Shankara. At the beginning of the creation, Vasudeva alone existed in the form of Mahavishnu. There was no Brahma, there was no Shiva. Eko vai Narayana Asin, na Brahma Neshana. Only Narayana, that is Mahavishnu, alone existed before the creation. Neither Brahma nor Isha, Lord Shiva, were there at that time. So this is how it is mentioned. There is one more verse which is also mentioned in the Vedic literature. Atmai Vedam Agra Asid. Atma eva idam Agra Asid. The Lord alone existed at the beginning of the creation. Here Atma can be considered to be Paramatma, can also be considered to be Brahman, can also be considered to be Bhagavan. So though Nanamati Upalakshita means though devotees may consider him to be Bhagavan, Jnanis may consider him to be Brahman, yogis may consider him to be Paramatma, but he alone existed because all three are same person. There is no difference between them. All three actually indicate to Mahavishnu or Karnadukshay Vishnu, who is sleeping in Karna ocean. He alone existed, there was no one. And why he alone existed? Because there was no desire in him to create unlimited universes or unlimited living entities who are actually residing within his own personality, within his own body. So this is the state prior to the beginning of creation. Then there was the manifestation of desire to create all the living entities. The first verse talks about there was no desire. Now the second verse talks about now there manifested the desire to create unlimited universes and unlimited living entities. Then what happened? Sava esha tada drishta napashya drishyamekarat mene santam ivatmanam supta shaktir asupta druk.
The Lord, the undisputed proprietor of everything, was the only seer.
The Lord, the undisputed proprietor of everything, was the only seer. Cosmic manifestation was not present at that time, and thus he felt imperfect without his plenary and separated parts and parcels. The material energy was dormant, whereas the internal potency was manifested.
So here, when the desire manifested in him that he wanted to create unlimited universes and unlimited living entities. So, but the Lord knows that for me to create unlimited universes, I need to glance upon Mahamaya. So that is being indicated in this verse. Sava esha tada drishta napashyad drushyamekarat. When he wanted to glance upon Mahamaya for the purpose of creating unlimited universes, napashyad drushyamekarat. He could not see the object of his glance. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Mayadekshena suyate sa characharam. The universes and all the living entities are operated or maintained under my glance, under my supervision. Maya Adhyakshena. Under my supervision means under my glance. As long as Mahavishnu is glancing over Mahamaya, during that time the creation, maintenance and annihilation all are happening. When Lord withdraws his glance upon Mahamaya, then everything stops. All the activities are wound up and enter back into the personality of Mahavishnu. So now when he wanted to create all the universes, he had to glance upon Mahamaya. In order to glance upon Mahamaya, there should be Mahamaya. But there is no Mahamaya. Na pashyad drishyamekarat. Lord Vishnu, Lord Mahavishnu could not see the Mahamaya in order to glance upon her. Mene asantam ivatmanam supta shaktir asuptadruk. Mene, he considered asantam, incomplete, iva atmanam. Because in order to create all the living entities, he needed Maya. Since he could not find Maya, he thought that he is incomplete. Since Maya is not there, I cannot accomplish this task. I am incomplete, I cannot accomplish. Supta Shaktir. Since Mahamaya was sleeping, he could not see her. Asuptadruk. Though the Lord is not sleeping, but Mahamaya was sleeping, because Mahamaya entered into the body of Karmaduksha Vishnu, she was under deep sleep. But though the Lord externally seems to be in Yoga Nidra, but he is internally awake. He is always interacting with his internal potency, Yoga Maya, and unlimited variety of Lakshmis. He constantly performing various pastimes with his internal potency. But in order to create the universes, you need to interact with external potency, Mahamaya. That external potency is sleeping within himself. So he could not start the creation. Thus he was feeling incomplete. So that is being indicated in this verse. The Lord wanted to create the cosmic manifestation. For what purpose Lord want to create this universe? To give another chance to the conditioned souls who are dormant in forgetfulness. The cosmic manifestation gives the conditioned souls a chance to go back home back to Godhead. And that is its main purpose. The Lord is so kind that in the absence of such a manifestation, he feels something wanting, and thus the creation takes place. This creation is nothing but a facility for the living entities who wanted to enjoy separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Vishnu is actually providing a place where the Jiva can enjoy according to one's desire. Once that is done, the Jiva can go back home back to Godhead and live in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the rest of the eternity. So from here onwards, for all the future purports, Prabhupada reiterate the same theme. This material world is meant for the rectification of the living entities consciousness, speculative temperament, and misconceptions, etc., etc. And also to correct his false identity and false ego, wherein Jiva always thinks that he is the master, he is the owner, he is the enjoyer, whatever he surveys. The false ego says that Aham Mameti, I am the enjoyer, everything is meant for my enjoyment. So that consciousness has to be rectified. For that purpose, the Supreme Lord actually creates unlimited variety of universes. So this is the theme which Prabhupada repeats in the entire purports throughout the process of creation as being discussed in this chapter. The whole process is to enliven the sleeping conditioned souls to the real life of spiritual consciousness, so that they may thus become as perfect as ever liberated souls in the Vaikuntha Lokas. Since the Lord is Sachidananda Vigraha, he likes every part and parcel of his different potencies to take part in the blissful rasa, because participation within the Lord in his eternal rasa lila is the highest living condition, perfect in spiritual bliss and eternal knowledge. So Prabhupada says that all the living entities are supposed to go back home back to spiritual world and take part in the eternal lila of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not to go through continuous suffering in this material world. So in order to give us a facility to go back home back to Godhead, the Supreme Lord is actually creating this material universe. So when he did not see the Mahamaya, in order to create all the universes, he strongly desired that Mahamaya should appear so that he can start the creation. Then Mahamaya comes out of Lord's skin pores, as we have discussed in the second canto. Out of the 5 tattvas, dravya karma cha kala cha swabhavo jiva evacha. Dravya, kala, karma, swabhava, jiva. These are the 5 tattvas, out of which dravya first comes out of the skin pores of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu. That is nothing but, here it is mentioned as Mahamaya wakes up. Mahamaya wakes up means Mahamaya comes out of Mahavishnu's body through various skin pores in the form of dravya or pradhana. So that is being mentioned in this next verse. So when Dravya comes out, when Pradhana comes out, when Mahamaya comes out, Mahavishnu glances upon Mahamaya. So these two things have been discussed in the next verse. Savayetasya samdrashtu shakti sad asadatmika maya nama mahabhaga yayedam nirmame vibhu.
The Lord is the seer, and the external energy which is seen works as both cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. O greatly fortunate Vidura, this external energy is known as Maya or illusion, and through her agency only is the entire material manifestation made possible.
So here the waking up of Mahamaya is being described. That is nothing but the Pradhana coming out of Mahavishnu's skin pores. Sava etasya samdrashtu shakti sadas atmaka. Sava etasya samdrashtu. That Mahamaya which is supposed to be glanced upon by Mahavishnu. Shakti. She is called Lord's external Shakti. Lord's Shakti, Lord's own potency only. Bahiranga Shakti. Sad asad atmika. Which is consisting of cause and effect. The Mahamaya in herself acts as the cause of the material creation. She herself transforms into the entire visible material world. She herself transforms into all the variety of activities, all the variety of forms that are seen in this material world. She is the cause and she is the effect. But this cause and effect things will happen, will take place only when Mahavishnu glances upon Mahamaya. That's why it is called as Samdrashtu. The energy, the Shakti, the potency of the Supreme Lord, which is supposed to be glanced upon by the Supreme Lord, she woke up. Who is she? Maya Nama Mahabhaga. Oh great soul, my dear Vidura. She is called as Maya. Whenever Bhagavatam says Maya means Mahamaya. Wherever Yogamaya is supposed to be mentioned, Bhagavatam says Yogamaya. If there is no yoga mentioned along with Maya, that Maya means Mahamaya. This is general understanding of Bhagavatam. So, because in one of the previous verse, Yoga Maya Brahmita word came. So, in that way. Yedam nirmame vibhu. By whose help the Supreme Lord creates all the variety of universes and all the variety of living entities and allows all the living entities to perform all the variety of activities. So, everything is possible by Mahamaya potency, which actually belongs to Supreme Lord. It is Lord's own Shakti. She consists the ability to act as cause and effects. So this verse talks about the energy upon which Lord Vishnu glances upon. That is nothing but Dravya came out of Lord Vishnu's various skin pores in order to help the Supreme Lord, in order to assist the Supreme Lord to create and maintain and annihilate all the variety of living entities.
Hare
So,
Krishna. Prabhuji, Mahamaya is same equal to Durga or Parvati, na? Or there is some difference?
No, same only.
Same, na?
Okay. Same.
Prabhuji, I have one question with regards to cause and effect.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, I am trying to understand this even better. If there can be some example of cause and effects, then we can understand it better.
So the chapter is all about cause and effect only. We will try to see how from one other things are manifested. So now we are going to discuss that how this Maya, just by the glance of Lord Vishnu, will give birth to 24 elements. And then in the sixth chapter, we will discuss that by the combination of these 24 elements, there appears unlimited Brahmandas. And then we will also discuss from chapter 10 and chapter 12 that using the same 24 elements, Lord Brahma creates all the variety of living entities like Devatas, sages, Asuras, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, Kimpurushas, human beings, animals, reptiles, birds, plants, etc. Everything that we see in this entire universe is nothing but an effect of 24 elements. The 24 elements are an effect of Mahamaya. Thus, Mahamaya is the cause, and everything that we see all around us is an effect. So, in that way, we have to see how Mahamaya acts as cause and effect.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Cause is the source, effect is the manifestation from the source. So
Okay.
the house in which you are living is effect. So what are the ingredients which are causing that house to manifest? Bricks, cement, iron, all these things are instrument cause. So where from all these things are coming? They are all coming from earth only. Everything that you have in your house, everything is coming from earth only. So from that way, earth is the ultimate cause for your house in which you are actually living and enjoying. So in that way. And at the same time, everything that you have in your house non different from earth only. Whether it may be wooden furniture, whether it may be cushion items, whether it may be utensils, whether it may be electronic gadgets, or it may be the walls and windows, all these things, so many things, everything is nothing but the transformation of Mother Earth only in one sense.
Understood, Prabhuji.
So that's how we have to see cause and effect. Of course, this is the famous verse which Prabhupada keeps quoting in from Bhagavad Gita. Everything is happening under the supervision of Lord Vishnu. So now Mahamaya woke up. The Dravya comes out of the skin pores of Mahavishnu. Now Mahavishnu glanced upon that Mahamaya, Lord's own external potency. That is being mentioned in the verse number 26. Kalavrutyatu mayayam gunamayama dokshaja Purushenatma bhutena viryam adatta viryavan.
The supreme being, the supreme living being in his feature as the transcendental Purusha incarnation, who is the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of three modes, and thus by the influence of eternal time, the living entities appear.
So here another attribute of Mahamaya. What is Mahamaya? For us to understand, that is mentioned here. Mayayam Gunamayam. Maya is nothing but she is made up of three modes of material nature. Here it is Dravya or Pradhana or Mahamaya. She is nothing but she is the combination of three modes of material nature. So Kala Vrutyatu, at a certain point of time, when exactly we don't know, from our point of view, we can say at the beginning of the creation, Adokshaja, the supreme personality of Godhead, in his Purusha manifestation, Purushenatma Bhutena, in his expansion known as the first Purusha, Mahavishnu or Karanadakshaya Vishnu, Viryam Adatta Viryavan. She was glanced upon by Mahavishnu. So what did he do by glance? Viryam Adatta Viryavan. She impregnated Maya with all the variety of living entities. Here Viryam indicates Hiranyagarbha. So when Lord glanced upon Mahamaya, the Mahamaya is impregnated with Kala, Karma, Svabhava and Jiva. The remaining four tattvas have actually entered into the womb of Mahamaya. So at a particular point of time, when it is the right time for creation, when Mahamaya came out of the skin pores of the Mahavishnu, so Lord Vishnu glanced upon her, during which he impregnated her, Mahamaya with Kala Shakti, Jiva Shakti, along with Jiva's innate nature, that is Svabhava, and Jiva's karma. So that is what is indicated as Viryam Adatta Viryavan, which is clearly mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter. Mama Yonir Mahat Brahma Tasmin Garbham Dadamyaham. Mama Yonir Mahat Brahma. He says that Mama Yoni, my place of impregnation, which is called as Mahamaya, we call Mahat Brahma here, Mahamaya or Mahat Brahma, which Bhagavad Gita Lord Krishna says, Tasmin Garbham Tadamyaham, into which I impregnated Garbha. Here Garbha refers to Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is nothing but combination of all the living entities, all the jiva that are going to take place in the material universes. All those living entities who are taking rest within the body of Karanadakshaya Vishnu from the time of Pralaya, now they were all injected into Mahamaya, so that they all will get suitable bodies to continue their activities. So this is what happens at the beginning of creation. So basically this was talking about Mahavishnu impregnating Mahamaya with Jiva Shakti and Kala Shakti. Kala, Karma, Svabhava, Jiva, these four enter into Mahamaya, who is nothing but Gunamayam Mahamaya. She is nothing but the combination of three modes of material nature. Here Prabhupada again talks about what is the purpose of creation. The living entities are foreign to matter, and thus they cannot be happy unless they are situated in the same spiritual life as the Lord. The mistaken living being, out of forgetfulness of this original condition of life, unnecessarily wastes time trying to become happy in the material world. The whole Vedic process is to remind one of this essential feature of life. The Lord offers conditioned souls a material body for his so-called enjoyment. But if one does not come to his senses and enter into spiritual consciousness, the Lord again puts him in the unmanifested condition as it existed in the beginning of creation. All the jivas who did not liberate from the material world in the previous creation, they all entered into the body of Karmaduksha Vishnu at the time of Pralaya. Now again, at the time of new creation, they are all again injected into Mahamaya so that they can continue their desires, their activities. So that is what is hinted here in this section of purport. So now, when Lord glanced upon Mahamaya, when he injected Kala, Karma, Prabhava and Jiva into Mahamaya, which is made up of three modes of material nature, then what happened? Tato abhavan mahattvam avyaktat kala chodita vijnanatmatma dehastam vishwam vyanjam tamonudam.
They
Thereafter,
are influenced by the interactions of eternal time. Supreme sum total of matter called Mahatattva became manifested. And in this Mahatattva, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord, sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of his own body.
So here it is mentioned as, so when Lord Vishnu glanced upon Mahamaya, consisting of three modes of material nature, impregnating her with Jiva Shakti and Kala Shakti, by the interaction of Kala, Karma, Swabhava with three modes of material nature, from the three modes of material nature, or from Pradhana or Prakriti or Dravya, there appears Mahatattva. Tato Abhavad, then there appears, by the interaction of Kala Shakti and Dravya, Kala, Karma, Swabhava with Dravya, there appears Mahatattva. Here Avyakta refers to Pradhana. Avyaktat Kala Choditat Mahatattvam Abhavan. By the interaction of Kala, Karma, Swabhava with Avyakta, that is Mahamaya or Prakriti or Pradhana, Mahatattvam Abhavan. Mahatattva appeared. So what is Mahatattva? Vijnanatma, Atma Deyastam. Vijnanatma. Mahatattva is nothing but it is completely made up of Vijnanatma. Vijnanatma refers to pure goodness. Mahatattva is actually made up of pure goodness, whose counterpart exists within each of us in the form of Chitta or Chetana. So this is Mahatattva is made up of pure goodness. It is a mode of goodness without any contamination of mode of passion and mode of ignorance. And Atma Deyastam. From this Mahatattva, eventually the entire universe will manifest. All the living entities will manifest. All the things that we see all around, the 14 planetary systems will also manifest. Vishwam Vyanjams Tamonudam. The entire universe actually will manifest eventually from this Mahatattva. And Tamonudam, the ignorance which was spread all around since the time of annihilation will be destroyed, because Mahatattva, being the Vijnanatma, is actually brightly shining. It actually, its effulgence is spread all over the world. This particular understanding how the light is spreading all over will be explained in the 26th chapter of the third canto. That there it is actually talks about the qualities of Mahatattva, characteristics of Mahatattva, everything is being mentioned there. There it talks about how it actually emits the light by which the darkness which was there around from the time of Pralaya was completely destroyed. So Mahatattva is nothing but the pure goodness. So in the Pradhana state, the three modes are actually inactive. By the interaction of Kala, Karma, Swabhava, the mode of goodness becomes activated. That state, Mahatattva appears. It is basically when you sow a seed in the land, the first comes the sprout, or the which will transform itself into root. That root is Mahatattva. In Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, Lord Krishna says, Urdha Moolam Adashakam Ashwattam Prahuravyam. The Urdhva Moola, the upside down tree, has root at the top of the universe. That root is actually indicative of Mahatattva, which is nothing but Shuddha Tattva in the Shuddha Tattva consciousness. So, which is the abode of Lord Brahma, which is called as Satyaloka, etc. etc. All these things are there. So, here this Vijnanatma or Mahatattva is nothing but pure goodness. The mode of goodness becomes active. So, it is like a sprout which is coming out of the seed when the seed is sown in the field. So, first Mahatattva appeared from Pradhana. Here Avyakta refers to Pradhana and Mahatattva is Shuddha Sattva, the pure mode of goodness. Then in due course of time, by the further interaction of Pradhana with Kala, Karma, Swabhava, so the mode of passion also becomes activated. That time there appears Sutra Tattva, which is not clearly mentioned in this particular section, but Acharyas talk about it. It is like first the sprout comes, which is there within the ground. Then on the surface of the ground, we see small sapling. That small sapling is like Sutra Tattva. Then in due course of time, by the further interaction of Pradhana with Kala, Karma, Swabhava, when the mode of ignorance becomes prominent, becomes activated, then from that mode of ignorance there appears Ahankara, that is being mentioned in this next verse. Since Sutra Tattva is not counted one among the 24 elements, so there is no clear discussion about it in this sequence of events mentioned in the chapter. The first Mahatattva is there, that is the 24th element. Then the 23rd element is Ahankara, that is being mentioned. Sopi amsha guna kalatma bhagavad drishti gochara atmanam vyakarod atma vishwasasyasya srikshaya.
Thereafter, the Mahatattva differentiated itself into many different forms as the reservoir of the would-be entities. The Mahatattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance, and it generates the false ego. It is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principles and time for fructification.
So here, since the desire of the Lord is very strong, so because of that, Bhagavad Drishti Gochara, the Lord is continuously glancing upon Avyakta or Pradhana. So because of that, what was that? Mahatattva appeared. Mahatattva is nothing but Amsha Guna Kalatma. It is nothing but which was the manifestation of Amsha Guna Kalatma. Amsha refers to the Jiva Shakti. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Because when Lord impregnated Avyakta or Pradhana, the Jiva Shakti along with Karma and Swabhava, along with Kala Shakti also entered. So Amsha refers to all the variety of living entities. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. And Guna refers to Pradhana, 3 modes of material nature. And Kala refers to Kala Shakti. When Kala and Jiva interacts with Guna, there appeared Mahatattva. So that Mahatattva is being glanced upon by the Supreme Lord further. Eventually, it gives birth to Atma. Here Atma refers to Atmanam Vyakarod Atma. Here Atmanam Vyakarod means the first Atmanam refers to Mahatattva. That Mahatattva transforms itself into second Atma, that is Ahankara. Vishwasasya Srikshaya. Because the Supreme Lord is actually strongly desiring to create all the variety of universes in order to facilitate a platform for all of us to execute our activities. So his desire is so strong, because the strong desire is continuously glancing upon Pradhana, Gunas, 3 Gunas. They are transforming themselves into one after the other. First mode of goodness was prominent, that gave birth to Mahatattva. Then mode of passion became prominent, that gave birth to Sutra Tattva. Then eventually the mode of ignorance becomes prominent, that gives birth to Ahankara, that is indicated by Atma here. So details about Ahankara are mentioned in the next verse.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, can you please elaborate on the Sutra Tattva? I'm confused, not really understood properly.
So what is Sutra Tattva? We'll discuss in the next chapter, because the 6th chapter talks about Sutra Tattva, activities of Sutra Tattva, etc.
Okay, fine. Fine.
So Sutra
Hare
Tattva
Krishna,
in
Guruji.
one second. I'll take your question. Sutra Tattva is nothing but the mode of passion, which is consisting of Kriya Shakti. Just like Mahatattva is consisting of Vijnana Atma, the Vijnana potency, the pure goodness. Similarly, the pure passion is nothing but Sutra Tattva, because of which we are actually performing all the variety of activities. The manifestation of Sutra Tattva within us is called as Prana. Mahatattva is there within us in the form of Chetana or Chitta. Similarly, Sutra Tattva is there within us in the form of Prana. So what are the variety of pranas also we will discuss in the 6th chapter. 6th chapter elaborated talks about 10 pranas. Prana, Apana, Samana, Vyana, Udana, Kirkara, Naga, etc. There are 10 pranas. We will discuss them in the 6th chapter.
Okay.
Guruji, you earlier told when we were discussing in Canto 2nd, and Mahatattva is manifesting in mind and 10 demigods. So is there a difference between mind and Chitta here?
No, wait. Mind, we'll discuss a little later about mind. Mahatattva is pure goodness.
Yeah.
It is there within our personality in the form of Chitta or Chetana. It is not mind. Nothing to do with mind. Mind se kuch lena dena nahi.
Okay.
Mahatattva means Chetana or Chitta. Sutra Tattva means Prana. Ahankara means false ego or ego, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So mind and all we will discuss a little later. Mind will come in the future verses.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Anyone else? Question?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I got confused in the chronology of who comes first. Like, can you just say in a simple this thing that first is
No.
Pradhana, then the Mahatattva, and then these 3 modes?
No. 3 modes are there from the beginning, na?
No,
3
not
modes
the
are nothing
modes.
but Pradhana.
No, not modes. Sorry, this the 3 tattvas, like the goodness. That is Mahatattva. You said it's pure goodness. Then Sutra Tattva, you're talking about. You are relating it to the passion.
Yeah, pure passion.
And then comes the ignorance, right?
Ahankara is pure ignorance.
Yeah. So first is Pradhana, as you said, right?
Yes.
And then when the Lord glances over Pradhana, it becomes Mahatattva. Is that what you said?
Yes. Please go ahead.
And then comes, okay, after activation of the mode, then comes this 3. Like, see, Mahatattva is Suddha Sattva. That is mode of goodness, pure goodness.
Pure goodness, yes.
Then how the Sutra Tattva comes, as you said, the further activation of modes with this Pradhana?
No, further interaction of Kala Shakti and Jiva Shakti with 3 modes, the mode of passion becomes prominent.
Kala Shakti and Jiva Shakti with 3 modes.
3 modes, yeah.
Okay.
So the mode of passion becomes activated, from which appears Sutra Tattva.
So Jiva Shakti is same as Swabhava.
No. Jiva Shakti means Jivas. Swabhava is their property.
Okay.
Swabhava means nature. You have a particular nature, I have a particular nature, and Mataji has a particular nature. Our unique nature is called Swabhava. Our karma is our bank balance, the past reactions, past activities.
So Prabhuji, when you are saying Kala Shakti and Jiva Shakti, when they are interacting further, that's when the Sutra Tattva is forming, and then later comes the mode of ignorance also, correct?
Yeah.
So when you say Kala Shakti, that is time.
And
when you say Jiva Shakti, that is Jivas, that is living entities.
Jiva means, here Bhagavatam talks about Jivas in terms of karma and Swabhava. Jiva per se does not interact with anything. Jiva is there, but Jiva's belongings, Jiva's energies, karma and Swabhava, they are interacting with 3 modes.
Okay.
From Jiva's point of view, karma and Swabhava are interacting with the 3 gunas. From the Lord's point of view, Kala Shakti is interacting with the 3 gunas. That's why Bhagavatam talks about Kala, Karma, Swabhava. These 3 are interacting with 3 gunas.
Okay, great. So at this stage also you are saying that the Jiva, the souls, are not actually taking part in it.
Yeah.
They are still neutral. Is that it?
If you remember the Bhagavad Gita verse, I will tell you one verse, you tell me the meaning. Ahanka prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. Ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti mannate. We discussed many times during our Bhakshashri. What is the meaning of this verse?
Yes. So we think we are
tell me, please.
Yeah, that's what we think, that we are active, but actually only the modes are functioning. This is what it means.
Same way.
Oh,
Here we may say that Jiva is interacting with gunas, but actually Jiva is not interacting. Jiva's possessions, karma and svabhava, are actually
Karma and
interacting with
Svabhava.
guna.
Okay.
Yeah, in that way.
Got it, got it. Thank you so much, Rose. Very good.
So is everyone clear how the things are happening one after the other?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Anyway, I will show a little later. Maybe after this set of verses are over, I will repeat once again by showing some slides with some of the animations and all. So that will be kind of revision. Now let us go through verses all the way up to 36, I think 36 or 37. Then I will show the slides, which will again repeat the entire cycle. So now verse number 29. Now basically here Ahankara just appeared. So what is Ahankara? What are the qualities of Ahankara are kind of mentioned in this verse. Mahattatvadvikurvanat aham tattvam vyajayata karyakaranakartatma bhutendriyamanomayam vaikarika taijasasya tamasascheti aham trida.
Mahatattva, or the great causal truth, transforms into false ego, which is manifested in three phases: cause, effect, and the doer. All such activities are on the mental plane and are based on the material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in three different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance.
So now Mahatattva Dikurvana Daham Tattvam Vyajayata. By the transformation of Mahatattva, which is in the mode of goodness, there came Sutta Tattva, which is in the mode of passion, that is not mentioned in the Bhagavatam verses. But later on, by the transformation, by further transformation, there appeared Aham Tattva. Aham Tattva refers to Ahamkara. Here Aham Tattva actually indicating Ahamkara. Ahankara appeared. By then, the mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance, three of them are activated. Previously, at the stage of Pradhana, they were inactive state, they were in standstill, they were in sleeping condition. Now, by the interaction of Kala, Karma, Svabhava, all the three modes became activated. Simultaneously, three elements are formed: Mahatattva, Sutra Tattva, and Ahankara. So now, at the stage of Ahankara, the three modes are activated, and Ahankara in itself possessing three counterparts, three subparts. So what are they? Karya, Karana, Kartatma. The Mahatattva is Aham Tattva, Ahankara is nothing but it is made up of Karya, Karana, Kartatma. Karya means here Karya refers to the effect. Karana refers to the cause, the instrument. Karta refers to the doer. So I mean, if you still remember the grammar which we have read in our vernacular languages in our school days, in Telugu we used to read like Karta, Karma, Kriya. Karta is the doer, Karma is the activity which is done. Sorry, Karma is the instrument with which we perform the activity, and Kriya is the activity, the action, whatever the action is performed. So here Karya is nothing but the Karya is the effect. What is the activity that is done? Which is nothing but the manifestation of elements. Here Karya actually directly indicating to Adi Bhuta, which is actually mentioned in the next line. Bhuta Indriya Manomaya. Karya has one-to-one relation with Bhuta. What is the result of this activity of glancing by the Lord upon Mahamaya? The five Pancha Mahabhutas are manifested. Eventually, they will manifest in due course of time, but they are the effect of the performance of activity. The ultimate result is in the form of Pancha Mahabhutas, that is Karya. The activity is done and it is resulted in Pancha Mahabhutas. And this is referring to Adibhuta aspect of Ahankara. And Karana, the instruments with which the activity is done. This is nothing but the cause. Using these instruments, the Jiva will perform all the variety of activities. So what are the instruments of the Jiva? Indriya. The jiva is endowed with 10 senses, 5 jnanendriyas and 5 karmendriyas. They are our instruments with which we are actually performing variety of activities, with which we are interacting with the external world. The world outside of us, we are actually interacting with these 10 senses. In Bhagavad Gita, they are called external senses. And Man, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chetana, they are called internal senses. So with them, we can do so many plan making and so many ideologies, so many conceptions within our mind only. We don't need any external support of any external world. Within our mind, within our intelligence, we can do so many things. But in order to do anything externally out of us in this world, we actually need these 10 senses. So they are our instruments in order to do any activity. Just like for the people who want to construct a building, they need so many instruments. They need a JCB to dig. They need crane to lift the material here and there, move them here to there to here, and so many human labor is required. They need so many instruments in order to do all the work. Similarly, for the living entity to do activity in this world, our instruments are 10 senses. So they refers to Adhyatma aspect of Ahankara. The 10, the Panchamahabhutas are Adibhuta aspect. The 10 senses are Adhyatma aspect. So they are referring to the Karana or the instrument, the senses. And Karta, the doer. Who is the doer? Manomaya. The doer is the mind, intelligence, ego, and Chetana. Because these four are dictating, do this and don't do this, go here, don't go there, speak to this person, don't speak to that person. The mind, intelligence, ego, and Chetana are actually always dictating us what to do, what not to do. And all the activities of the mind, intelligence, and Ahankara, Chetana, and the 10 senses and Panchamahabhutas are facilitated by variety of devatas, the sense devatas. So they are all the four antakaranas, the internal senses, and the devatas. They are representing Adi Daiva aspect of Ahankara, or Karta aspect, Kartar, Kartru, the doer aspect of Ahankara. Effect, cause, and the doer. Adibhuta, Adhyatma, Adidaiva. The Panchamahabhutas are the Adibhuta aspect, are the effect. The 10 senses, 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas, are the Adhyatma aspect, are the instruments, are the Karana. And the mind, intelligence, ego, Chetana, and Devatas, who are supervising the activities of all the internal senses and external senses, are Kartru, the doer, the Adi Deva aspect of Ahankara. So these are the constituents or the sub-components of Ahankara. Ahankara is nothing but the combination of Karya, Karana, Kartatma. It is nothing but Bhutendriya, Manomayam. It is nothing but Adibhuta, Adhyatma, and Adidaiva. And these three are divided. One second. And these three are categorized under 3 modes. Vaikarika, Tejasya, Tamasascheti, Aham Trida. Vaikarika means mode of goodness. That is nothing but Karta, Kartra. And Tejasa is mode of passion. That is nothing but Karana. And Tamasa is nothing but mode of ignorance. That is nothing but Karya. So these are the different sub-components or sub-aspects of Ahankara. Yes?
Sorry, Prabhuji, intelligence, is that the part of instruments or is that the part of doer? Intelligence, prana, and 10 senses.
Man, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chetana, these 4 are Karta aspect only. These 4 are fall in the category of course, I mean, the intelligence and prana comes in the doer, but in one sense, if you see the internal sense organ, external sense organ, from that point of view I have taken. So intelligence has both the, it has its existence in both Karana aspect and Karta aspect also. Intelligence as a plan maker, it is in the Karta aspect. Intelligence as the analyzer, it is in the Karana aspect. So it like that, it functions in both the places. Though we will see in the chart that intelligence is actually appeared from the mode of passion. The buddhi, prana, and the 10 senses appeared from mode of passion, because that is from the point of action. So here we are taking from the point of function. So that's why I have indicated this. So here 5 Panchabhutas are there, here 10 senses are there, here Man, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chetana, and all the Devatas are in the category of Kartra aspect. That way we can see. Of course, the next verse itself talks about the intelligence in the mode of passion. That is there, that we will take. That is from the point of its activity. Aham tatvad vikurvanat mano vaikarika adabhut vaikarikascha ye deva arta bivyanjayan yata. Hare Krishna.
The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false ego and the mode of goodness.
Yeah, here. Now, what exactly appears in the mode of goodness of Ahankara? So, Aham Tattva Vikurvanad Mano Vaikarika Dabut. Vaikarika means the mode of goodness. From this appears mind, and then Deva. All the Devatas of the 14 senses, the 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas, and 4 Antakaranas. For all these 14 senses, there are 14 Devatas. All the Devatas are also appearing from Ahankara in the mode of goodness. So from these Devatas, Artha Abhivanjayanam Yata. All the sense objects will be revealed. Only when these Devatas are there, our senses become activated and we will be able to see all the sense objects. We will be able to see the world around us, the people around us, when these Devatas allow us. Just like when there is sun, only we can see everything. Similarly, when there is Varuna, then there is water element, then only we can taste the taste of our variety of foodstuffs. Similarly, like that. So that is these Devatas and the mind are manifested from Ahankara in the mode of goodness. Aham Tattvat Vaikarika, mode of goodness. Now the next verse says that Taijas Indriyani Eva Jnana Karma Mayanicha. From the Taijasa, from the Ahankara in the mode of passion, there appears Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas. 5 Jnanendriyas and 5 Karmendriyas appear from Ahankara in the mode of passion. So that is indicated in the next 2 lines. And then from the mode of ignorance, they are supposed to appear the 5 Pancha Mahabhutas. So this is being described in the next set of verses. So first appears sound. Tamaso bhuta sukshmadir yata kamlingam atmana.
The sky is a product of sound, and sound is the transformation of egoistic passion. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul.
Yeah. Tamaso bhuta sukshmadir. Among all the Panchabhutas, the subtlest of all the Panchabhutas appeared first. What is the subtlest of all the Pancha Mahabhutas and their respective characteristics? That is out of the Pancha Mahabhutas, the subtlest is ether. The quality of ether is sound, Shabda. Yata kam lingam atmana. So first there appeared Shabda or sound. From the sound then there appears Kham, Akash or ether. So these two, the sound and Akash, are considered to be Lingam Atmana, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because it is only by sound we understand who the Lord is, what are the different attributes of the Supreme Lord in terms of his qualities, form, name, activities, etc. etc. That's why the sound is many times is equated with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why it is called as Yata Kam Lingam Atmana. Bhuta Sukshmadir Kam Lingam Atmana. The Akasha and the sound together are considered to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lingam Atmana means the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So in the sequence, is this sound which comes first, or this ether comes then sound travels to the ether?
No, sound comes first, and from sound comes ether. The reason is the sound is the subtlest element. In relation to ether, the sound is more subtle. When sound appeared, for that sound to move from one place to other place, there should be a via medium. The via medium for the sound to transport from one place to other place is ether. So that's how the things are manifested in due course of time.
Okay, bro.
First sound appeared, from sound appears the ether in which the sound transmits. And this sound is considered to be the form of the Supreme Lord, because from sound only we understand about the Supreme Lord. Tasmadva etasmad atmana akasha sambhuta. So there is one verse quoted in the Vedic literature. Tasman etasmad atmana akasha sambhuta. So therefore, it is said that etasmad atmana akasha sambhuta. So etasmad atmana akasha sambhuta. So from the Supreme Lord there appears sound and akasha, in which the Lord is spread all over. Akasha sambhuta, the Lord is spread all over. That means from the sound we can actually understand, we can actually get an understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the meaning of this phrase. So then by further interaction of Lords Kala Shakti and Jiva Shakti, that is karma and swabhava, with subsequently step by step, from one after the other, each element will manifest. First the sound came, from sound comes ether, and by the interaction with sound and ether, there appears from ether the touch. From touch there appears the via medium in which the touch sensation will transport from one place to other place, that is air. And then by the further interaction of kala, karma, swabhava with sound, ether, touch and air, there appears form. For the form to transmit from one place to other place, there appears light. And from the light or Agni, from the light or Agni, there appears taste. For the taste to transport from one place to other place, there appears water. And from water, there appears smell. For the smell to move from one place to other place, there appears earth. So like this, one after the other, all elements are manifested one after the other. That is mentioned in the next 3 verses.
One quick
Kalama.
question.
Wait, Proji, let us go through these 5 verses, then we'll take questions. Kalamayamsha yogena bhagavad vikshitam nabha nabaso anushrutam sparsham nabato anusprusham sparsham vikurvan nirmamenilam.
Thereafter, the personality of Godhead glanced over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus developed the touch sensation, from which the air in the sky was produced.
So basically, by the interaction of the glands, which is nothing but the Kala Shakti and Jiva Shakti, that is Kala, Karma, Swabhava, with 3 modes of material nature and subsequent elements. So one after the other are keep manifesting. It's like when you sow a seed in the ground, the first appears the sprout, then sapling, then the sapling grows into a small trunk from which branches come, from the branches sticks come, sticks, leaves come, leaves, birds will come, bird from birds, raw fruit, so many things like that, very many things happen. Like that, one after the other are manifested here. Anilopi vikuruvano nabaso rubalanvita sasarja rupatanmatram jyotir lokasya lochanam.
Thereafter, the extremely powerful air interacting with the sky generated the form of sense perception, and the perception of form transformed into electricity, the light to see the world.
So then there appeared from air the form. For the form to transmit from one place to other place, the via medium, Agni, Jyoti or light, from which we will be able to see the entire world manifested. Jyotir lokasya lochanam. So then from fire there appeared taste and then water. Anilenanvitam jyotir vikurvat paravikshitam adatambora samayam kalamayamsha yogata.
When electricity was surcharged by the air in the air and was glanced over by the Supreme at that time, by a mixture of eternal time and external energy, there occurred the creation of water and taste.
Yeah. Adatta ambo rasamayam. First rasa appeared and then water consisting of rasamayam they appeared. So first taste appeared. For the taste to go from one place to other place, water appeared. This is very much very well known to all the Matajis who daily cook prasad in your respective homes. Without water, we can't find any taste in any one of the foodstuffs that we eat every day. For rice, for chapati, for roti, or for sabji, or any item that we make, and we need water. So water is the transporting via media of the taste. Through water only we experience taste. Even when we put on the tongue, without saliva we cannot experience the taste. So it is a constant factor for the taste, the water. Jyotishambo anu samsrishtam vikurvad brahma vikshitam mahim gandha gunanadat kala mayamsha yogata.
Thereafter, the water produced from electricity was glanced over by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and mixed with eternal time and external energy. Thus, it was transformed into earth, which is qualified primarily by smell.
Yeah. So, Mahim Gandha Gunam. So, Gandha appeared. From water there appears Gandha. So, for the Gandha to transport from one place to other place, the earth appeared. So, the fragrance actually transports from one place to other place. Like the seed which is manifested appeared from a tree. When you sow the seed in the land, that grows into a big tree, which also had so many flowers, which emit a lot of fragrance. And from each flower comes many seeds, and when you sow them again, the many flowers with fragrance come. Like that, the earth is a via medium for the fragrance to go from one place to other place. Any foodstuff that prepare also has a lot of fragrance. When we add all the spices, they give a lot of fragrance. They are all manifestation of earth. So in that way, so like that, one after the other, all the five grass elements are manifested and their respective properties are manifested. As you come from the top to bottom, the first ether has only one quality, that is sound. Then air has two qualities, sound and touch. Then fire has three qualities, sound, touch and form. And water has four qualities, sound, touch, form and taste. And the earth has five qualities, which includes fragrance also. So that is being mentioned in this last verse. Bhutanam nabadinam yadyad bhava yadyad bhavyavaram tesham paranu samsargad yata sankyam gunan vidu.
O gentle one, of all the physical elements, beginning from the sky down to the earth, all the inferior and superior qualities are due only to the final touch of the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So by the glance of the Supreme Lord, like this, all 24 elements are manifested one after the other. So some of you are asking question in between. So we'll take a couple of questions now and then we'll take a break. Then we'll continue from the next verse. Yes, Prabhu.
I had this question, text 32, very interestingly talks about sound and ether as the manifestation of the Lord, Sam Lingatmanam. So is there any relationship between Lord's holy name that we hear and is there any relationship between the holy name sound vibration in relation to this sound vibration?
What is holy name?
It's a sound, it's a vibration that we vibrate.
That's why.
It's a sound.
From that sound only we understand the Supreme Lord. That's why the sound is the manifestation of Supreme Lord.
So can we take this verse as a quotation of Praman saying that holy name is the representation of Lord directly because on the
No,
strength
holy
of
name
this verse.
itself is Lord, na? Abhinnam nama namine. Abhinnatvam nama namine. There is no difference between the Supreme Lord himself and his holy name. Nama, Rupa, Gunila, there is no Peda, Beda, Prakasha. I mean, but basically, there is no difference between the Supreme Lord and his holy name or his pastimes, and all of them are same. They are all transcendentally same potent. So, any sound vibration that actually reveals us the knowledge of Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are non-different from the Supreme Lord only. Whether it could be Krishna Katha, whether it could be Krishna's Naam, whether it could be Krishna Bhajan, they are all non-different from the Supreme Lord. So that is what we have to understand from this verse.
So we can quote this verse
Yeah, you
saying
can.
that Bhagavatam.
Yeah, you can quote this verse, quoting Bhagavatam, no problem. This comes in the second canto also. It came. Same concept is mentioned in the second canto also.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else has any query? We will again repeat showing some slides after the break, but still if you have some queries.
I have one more question. It is easy to understand that for sound to travel, ether comes from touch to feel, air comes, form, fire, etc. But it is difficult to understand how from air the form comes, or how from fire the taste comes, or how from water the smell comes.
Okay, now tell me, how from the seed sprout comes? How from the sprout the trunk comes? How from the trunk the branches come? How from the branch the twigs come? How from the twigs the leaves come? How from the leaves the bird comes? How from the bird the flower comes? How from the flower the fruit comes?
Okay.
Huh? So that is the art. That is the art of the creation. So there is no answer to your question. You have to accept.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, no problem. We'll take a small break, 5 minutes, then we will continue. It is a little technical. See, please ask any questions because this is the last time the subject is discussed in the Bhagavatam. I mentioned many times during second canto. If you are not clear, we are going to discuss again this same thing in third canto. So we are discussing it today. If you are having any doubts, please don't hesitate to ask.